What's up, everybody? Early Stoppage MMA here, and today we've got a fun video for you where we're going to go over some of the fighters that I think I could make unstoppable with some small changes. These are guys that I think have a lot of promise and potential to be really good, and if they just fixed a few of the holes in their game, they could really excel. So this should be a fun one. Starting off, we're going with Diego Lopez. I know Lopez is coming off of a win just last week or so over Gene Silva, which is super impressive. I think that we saw a lot of success that he has with his style in that matchup. Like his wrestling in particular really shined. But at the same time, I think that with a few adjustments, he could be that much better. I'm thinking specifically about like his striking. With his striking, a lot of his success comes from the really heavy hooks that he is throwing with like all his weight behind it. However, that sometimes gets him in trouble in moments where like a nice long jab that's crisp would really help him out and service him in the long run. I think too, if he worked on his movement, like being able to cut off opponents specifically, would do wonders for his game because then he can really land those hooks in moments where it counts. I think we saw this with Alexander Volkanovski, where he wasn't having very much success because Volk would just, once he got up against the fence, slip off to the side. And that could be a testament to just how good Volk is in his footwork. But I think that that it is a hole in Lopez's game that if he patched, would make him all the more dangerous. And then to piggyback off of what I said earlier about how effective his grappling was against Gene Silva, if he just improved his takedowns, like learned some jujitsu, I mean, watching this guy just rocket dudes into the mat and then following them down there and laying on vicious ground and pound and threatening submissions would be awesome. I think that he could be such a strong contender in the weight class. I mean, he already is, but I don't know who would beat him if he had all of that under control with his size and his power and his chin. I mean, Jesus. I think that's it for Diego Lopez. So moving on, we're going to go with Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes is a conflicting one because as of recently, Curtis Blaydes has kind of struggled to find success. He's been on a bit of a win two, lose one when it really matters trajectory. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's kind of given up on his grappling. Whereas before Jailton Almeida came along, Curtis Blaydes was regarded as like the grappler of the heavyweight division. I mean, he was putting clinicals on people. In the grappling, and no one could really keep up with him. And a part of his success there was the fact that he would use his gas tank and his conditioning, which was pretty good, to just slow down these blob heavyweights. I think he could still do that and use that to his advantage. But in order to do that, he would kind of have to give up on the striking, which I feel like he's been relying on way more recently. And it's fine. His striking's okay, but it's not exceptional. Like I think he's always going to get outboxed by like a Tom Aspinall or a Cyril Gane. But I mean, I could see him beating like Volkov if he just embraced the grappling and really used his elbows on the ground and tried to like sort of gas out someone like Volkov. I would love to see him make these changes, but I just don't know if that would happen. If he did, he's so big and athletic and strong that I think Curtis Blaydes would do really well. It's just I don't know if that change is really all that possible. I think of all the options I have on this list, this one seems closer to the more far-fetched end. So, moving on from Curtis Blaydes, we're going to go to Cheeto. I fucking hate Cheeto. I love Cheeto, but I hate Cheeto. I mentioned in the last video that Cheeto Vera is somebody who frustrates me because he shows so much potential. Like with Cheeto, his chin is insane. His chin is insane, although it may be going from what we've seen. He's got great power, and his endurance and his cardio is absurd. The dude really doesn't tire out, and he can be in high-paced fights. The only problem is that he just doesn't do anything. He just kind of stands at range like a heavy bag and lets people wail on him, which I think for a lot of people would be an issue, but Cheeto is really pretty good defense on the feet. I mean, his guard and everything is pretty good. Most punches don't land clean on him. Other than O'Malley. O'Malley really figured out how to hit him, which was great. Same thing with Figgy. Figgy was landing on him a little bit, but by and large, people have a hard time damaging Cheeto. Um, he's pretty accurate too. It's just like if he just increased his activity and actually threw and maybe walked towards people, I could see him really having success. Because most of the time in his fights, when he's moving forward and throwing punches at people, that is when he starts to find success. That's when they start to open up and kind of wilt under his pressure and his power. So I would love to see just a more active Cheeto. And then beyond that, I think a lot of people forget because it's been so long, but Cheeto's finishes are primarily submissions. His jiu-jitsu is pretty good. I mean, we haven't seen it recently, and it hasn't really looked that good recently. I think maybe he's been foregoing it for his striking, but man, if he could build that back up, then he might not have the moments that he did in his last fights where he was just kind of on the ground against like Corey Sandhagen. And we'd see him find more success, just throwing up submissions or scrambling and then getting back to the feet. Cheeto just has so much potential to be a dangerous, kind of fairly well-rounded fighter. It's an inactivity problem, I think, more than anything. And I really think that if he just stepped it up, God, he could be good. He could be really, really good. Will we see that happen? I don't know. He's kind of young-ish, I think. So, maybe one day he'll get it together. But from what we've seen recently, I just don't know. Yeah, I don't know what more there is to say about Cheeto. Figure it out, man. Moving on. Steve Erceg. This is a weird one. Steve, to start out with, no more short notice fights. I don't think that that's a good move for anyone involved. Even though he did pretty good against even Moreno in his last fight, which was somewhat short notice. He was hanging in there with him. I really do think that, especially at altitude, having a short notice camp just did not prepare him. I think in another world, he may have had more success in that fight. I'm not going to say he would have beat Moreno because it is a tough matchup, and Moreno's pretty good, but yeah, just full camps from now on, please. I think in addition to that, Steve Erceg really needs to embrace his grappling skills. This would have served him well, I think, in the Moreno fight, because we've seen from the Pantoja performance that he's got good grappling. And that was kind of what he was known for on the regional scene before he got to the UFC. If he could mix up his grappling skills with his already pretty exceptional boxing and striking skills, I think he could be a very well-rounded fighter. He already kind of is. It's just like putting the two together in a way that's smart would just be all the better, and sharpening that fight IQ of like mixing it up, being well-rounded, and knowing when to do certain things. Because again, we've seen him lose fights based on like takedowns in the wrong moment. But that's something that you get a little bit better at. Steve is pretty young. I think that he's going to be able to bounce back from these losses. I think he is still easily a top 7 contender at flyweight. I don't think that there's any real doubts about that. Like, I think in a rematch, he probably smokes Kai Kara France. I don't feel like that's all that controversial to say. You get caught. It happens. I think that's what happened with Steve Erceg. I hope to see him back at the top of the division. I hope that he kind of fixes these things up and we get to see the Steve Erceg that really impressed everybody when he fought Pantoja once again. Yeah. Moving on from there. This is my final one, Paddy Pimblett. I think this dude is really good and really promising, and that's kind of a controversial statement. Not as much anymore after the Chandler performance and the Bobby Green performance, but even back in the day, people were really criticizing him for his Tony Ferguson performance, which I didn't fully understand because for the most part it was pretty impressive. There's a lot of a narrative, or there's a pretty big narrative around his conditioning in that fight, and how he gassed out, but how many people actually almost finish Tony on the feet, knock him down, have him, virtually unconscious? The only person who's done that is Michael Chandler, kicking him in the jaw and sending him into the shadow realm. Like, other than that, it hasn't really happened. Most people submit Tony Ferguson. I think it is a testament to just how much power Paddy Pimblett has. Like, Paddy Pimblett has good power. He's got a great chin. He's got great kicks. And his jiu-jitsu is dangerous. Like, he knows exactly when to lock up a submission. He's got great finishing instincts. But my God, that his striking defense has just been rough. It's gotten much better. Like, it has gotten so much better since his debut, but he still does have those moments where his hands will come down and his chin will come up, and that has to flip around. Like, if he wants to fight Ilya, he's got to fix that. I mean, of all the things, like those hands have to stay up. He's got to learn a good high guard or something, because I mean, at this point, Ilya, if he does something like that, is just going to capitalize on it and probably get him. Um, so yeah, that, and then adding in, like, he's got pretty good hooks. Like, he's powerful. We've seen that. He's got pretty good long strikes. But if he can just tighten up, especially like his straights, like being able to throw a nice jab and a 1-2, oh my God, I think Paddy Pimblett is championship material. I really do think that he could dominate the division. He's so big. He's so strong. Um, he's a bad matchup for a lot of fucking people. He's like an Oliveira that just doesn't have the same, like, he doesn't have a Muay Thai style. He's got more of like a kickboxing style. And if he could just tighten that shit up, oh my goodness. I mean, Paddy will always kind of be this really exciting fighter that people are just going to dread having to fight, honestly. Yeah, those are my picks for the fighters that I think I could make unstoppable with a few tweaks. I would love to know what you guys think in the comments below. Please tell me fighters that you see a lot of promise in, or that you think might have let you down a little bit recently, that just need to fix some aspects of their game, because we're in a weird transitionary period right now with a lot of these divisions, and there's a lot of stars that are coming up that are almost there and almost these really well-rounded fighters, but are just putting their games together. I would love to know who you think shows a lot of potential. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the fights this weekend. It should be a pretty entertaining card, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.